Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Today I bring in for the first time, Menny Hoffman. How you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. As it's your first time, give the audience a little bit of background on yourself.
Sure. So I've been the CEO of an agency called PTEX Group located in Brooklyn, New York. And we've been doing brand building for close to 20 years now. We have a team of over 30, and that's what we do. We love it, and we really dive into the core of every brand, and we help them support the brand as they grow.
Great. So today, this is what we're going to be talking about. It's like taking like a brand audit approach. We know that a lot of the audience are obviously they're on the brand, they're selling on Amazon, but maybe there are other ways to start looking at things. I mean, we were chatting off call. You mentioned earlier on about Dunkin' Donuts versus Starbucks and how their positioning in that works. Do you want to go into a bit of that first for that understanding? Let's talk about experience and stuff, because obviously you need to get your brand on point, your voice on point and stuff, and not everyone knows how to discover and get there.
Sure. So my introduction usually to this conversation is always, because we meet with so many Amazon sellers, let's call them, and I always say, look, there's two types of sellers on Amazon. There are people that are looking for the next opportunity, throw something off. On Amazon now, with with the world busy with the coronavirus, people taking advantage, finding products, putting them up. They're not looking to build a sustainable business or a brand long term. So for those people, they got to figure out how to get ranking, be on top, and that's about it. We're talking about people that are looking to build a sustainable business, which is obviously a private label seller. They're looking to expand their brand, and primarily their distribution channel could be Amazon at the moment. But eventually they want to expand. They don't want to put all their eggs in one basket. And there's a time for everything. There's time when they're going to be expanding and so on and so forth. But even as you are on Amazon, I always say there's two things that really make you successful on Amazon. One is getting traffic to your listing, and the second is getting conversions. So what we're going to be talking today is about how to position your listing and your brand that if your ideal client gets to your listing, they convert. Okay, fair?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so let's speak about the discovery of your brand and the positioning of your brand. And it's very simple. Every brand, and also this is also something that we have seen in the last 20 years when we built brands for successful big box retailers or successful companies that are constantly building out brands. They start from the brand positioning first, then they go ahead and build products, and then they match them up, and then they market them. The Amazon platform gave opportunity for so many people to first find the product and then figure out how I'm expanding and how I'm building, which is fair. But now we work at one point, you do want to go back and discover that and figure that out. So positioning is something you have to ask yourself is, what is the DNA of my brand? What do I want my brand to be known for when anybody gets in touch with it? And that's when they get to the listing, when they have the experience with actually opening the box and seeing everything with my brand. And then eventually actually when they use the product and then and they keep on getting follow-up emails from your brand. It's every touch point. It's not a single touch point. It's every single touch point with your brand. There has to reinforce that same positioning. Now going back to, you mentioned before I spoke about Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks, is both of them sell coffee. At the end of the day, if they don't sell a coffee, they don't have a business. The question is, how do I arrive in the mindset of my client? What is the positioning? And the answer is, Dunkin' Donuts decided we want our positioning to be all about the experience you have while buying with us the coffee. Dunkin' Donuts decided that it's all about the convenience. Now think for a moment, who's right and who's wrong? Both are right and both are wrong. The question is, which expectations you want to live up to? Because the second you lock yourself into that positioning, then everything is based on that. So if Dunkin' Donuts, if Starbucks, this marketing team decides that we want to start writing the name of every cup of coffee you buy from us, it's going to delay 30 seconds in the line, but they ask themselves one question: am I advancing the experience or not? If you do, it's on target with your positioning of your brand. And Dunkin' Donuts says, literally, we can't even serve you the coffee because it's about the convenience. You go off the truck into the store, you drop $1, and then you're out. So for Amazon sellers, it is a certain commitment. It is time, and sometimes, especially if you already have an advanced brand, at one point is, where do I want to be from here on? Which market do I want to serve? And then as you're going to expand on products, to your brand, as you're going to be looking at new sales channels, as you're going to go to retail. So many of the Amazon sellers eventually want to go to big box retail. Question is, where do I start? If you have the proper positioning, that's exactly, you know exactly where to start. You know, brands and stores that are actually aligned with your positioning. Now, once you have the positioning, one of the main benefits of having the positioning is that it almost spits out the client persona.
Can I ask a quick question? Sorry, just stepping in there. Is that how do we get to there? You know, it's like, say that you haven't managed to diagnose this yourself just yet. What would you suggest here in order to get to that diagnosis, to get to that next stage?
100%. So the first thing is that you have to take a deep look in understanding of, okay, what got you here? Or what is getting me here? Is it just, yes, maybe I started off mimicking products on Alibaba, whatever it is. At this point, what am I bringing to the table? So someone will say craftsmanship. Someone will say that all my products are chef back. It's a kitchen brand, but we do have somebody that, like, let's say I'm an ex-chef, and therefore every product I bring in, I make sure that it makes convenience for the shopper or for the cook or for the chef. You want to find that out, and it's called a USP, unique selling point, which is also known in the industry mainly on service brands, but ultimately that's the core of what you're getting on your positioning. Now, I want to give you an even more practical pointer on that. Is I once spoke to a packaging company. It's not a product, but I'll just quickly tell the story. And they said, and they were like looking to expand the business. It's not going as well as possible. I asked him, what's your USP? And he says, do we ship UPS? I said, no, USP, unique selling point. And he says, we don't have one. We're just like everybody else. I said, stop. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. You got to come back with a better answer than that. And after 5 minutes, he didn't have a better answer. And I asked him, you know what? I'll make it easier for you. Tell me a story or two that you are very proud of. And then he told me about that because he has multiple distribution channels and he's offering packaging supply, so he has that leverage. And all of a sudden, after 5-7 minutes, we identified how he's so well better positioned than so many of the competitors, but he's not using it. He's not going to the right clients that benefit from that USP. And the product side is the same thing. This is what we always do, is if you're a fashion brand, a kitchen gadget brand, a technology, you're selling whatever brand you are, and we've seen all of them, yeah? At one point, you could say, oh, my top 2 competitors are all over the place. I'm focused in this. And what does it mean for the client? Oh, because I'm focused, I'm only bringing in products that are X, Y, and Z. Okay, let's then take that and package it in a way that the client sees that front and center. He sees that whenever communication that he has, every touch point with your brand. So it's easier it's easier said than done, but it's not as hard to do if you're focused on this is what I want to achieve.
Especially if you've done
common denominator.
Yeah, especially if you've done it up front. If you've gone through your career picking out products and badging them up and getting them out there and decide you want to build a brand, it's a bit tougher then because you've now got to adjust the product or the packaging or the experience and do something because it's post-thought, isn't it? Now, the better way to do that is to actually design that up front before 100%. You launch the product, yeah?
Yeah, 100%. And today, you know, if you look back 5, 6, 7 years, you were able to get away with it. With Amazon involving in very much more a brand-centric type of platform, the more prepared you are when you launch a product, the easier it is for you to really understand where you want to be.
Cool. So we kind of covered the audit area, haven't we? We're in discovery now. You mentioned off call about brand narrative. Where does that come into everything?
Perfect. So as you identified it, and maybe you know it, and then you're sitting in your office, you know it. The next thing is now you easily have to identify your target audience. So who is the person that's actually going to like this product and buy the product, pay a premium or whatever it is. If you're a value brand, who are the people that love value brands? Whatever positioning it is, it's not just premium brands. The next thing is understanding that your voice and tone will make all the difference in your brand narrative, which is ultimately every touch point with your brand. Now, voice and tone could be from the naming of your brand to your tagline, your solid mission statement, how do you making the world a better place with your products, and ultimately even how you email conversations are happening. How are you actually talking? Are you talking, and that sometimes you want to have that funky voice, you want to have that geek voice, you want to have that professional voice, you want to be that chef cooking or mommy type of brand because you're kids and toys. It's so important. It's sometimes I see those brands and I clinch and I feel like, here you're speaking to kids and you're speaking this corporate language because somebody that maybe you went to a writer to write up a mission statement. It's just not connecting. You're not connecting the dots. So your brand narrative is taken out of the positioning. Whatever you actually want to position yourself, now you're making sure that the voice and tone across every single piece of content being delivered is speaking that same voice and tone. Because guess what? Sometimes it's not, most of the time, it's the consistency and how people they start realizing, I'm somehow connected to this brand. I'm an Apple fan. Get down to this and ask him, why you're an Apple fan? Is it because of the lens? Is it because of the camera? I don't know. It's all about Apple that I like. Maybe there are certain things that he actually doesn't like, but it's the perception and the narrative of the brand that it talks my language, that as soon as I'm connected, I see this on and on and on and on again, and therefore I stay connected. So very important that you cannot disconnect saying that, okay, here's my product, here's who I'm selling to, and then I'm going to a writer to do my brand narrative or write something up for me because of my packaging, and then I'm going to somebody else to do my listing. If you're not following the brand guidelines, you could be successful, but you're missing out so much because it's not a tight built out brand.
Do you also find is that when it comes, brand can be very fluffy as well. People take it too far the wrong way. It's like they'll do a mission statement and it's just junk. It's just hot air bullshit. Like they've written down and they don't even believe it themselves. They just sat around the table and crafted this thing and it's just barely legible for people to understand. And I think with products, with people and everything else, especially with conversions, a website, you've got to keep the language simple. You've got to make sure that it's nice. Like when you go to a website and they've got all these big long words that most people don't understand. It looks clever, but that's not going to be ideal because no one really wants to read that stuff. So how do you do a teardown? Let's say you get someone coming to your agency. How do you bring them back on track and say to them, guys, look, this is really fluffy now. You need to focus. What would you do here?
So again, we go back to products. Where do you want to be with your brand and who do you want to talk to? Yeah. And then as soon as we know who you want to talk to, we have to actually match that up. And I'll give you a very practical example. So we work for a lot of large companies that have multiple brands. One of our brands service the pro photographers and then newbies or people that are just want to get the first camera. And let's say we have a brand, two brands selling lens accessories. And we identified that for the amateur photographer going on the first honeymoon trip, they need to see packaging that has a before and after picture. Why? They have to visualize what this lens accessory will actually do for my camera. Now, the pro photographer, it's a brown box, just the item number, and it's just says the product name. Why? Anything else I put on that packaging, it diminishes that, wait a minute, I'm a pro photographer. I'm coming and asking, I need XY555 for my whatever camera. So don't tell me how the before and after. I know what this does. I buy this and this is my profession. Yeah. So sometimes less is more for that target market. Yeah. Sometimes more is less, when you
what
have
you're saying
to
is you don't want
that.
Yeah, so what you're saying is you don't want to insult their intelligence. They know what they want, they understand it, and basically they don't want to buy something where they feel you're dumbing it down for them.
Sure, and not only that, and this goes a little bit, maybe we'll touch this later on another time where we speak about the listing and on your packaging itself. It comes down to that, which is that sometimes you could see now Amazon sellers, they go to an agency to do listings, and those whoever's doing that listing, they're doing copy paste this the same setup and the same infographics and the same whatever it is. Depending on what the product is, maybe there's more different information this product needs based on who the consumer is. So identifying your brand, the product, and who the consumer is, it automatically changes everything. And I'll just share with you this story, which I think is fascinating. I once was at an event where the CEO of Costco, I'm not sure in the UK there is Costco, yeah? And he spoke about branding. From everything else, he spoke about branding. And then there was a Q&A, and somebody asked a question. He asked, what do you know about branding? You take a warehouse, you put products for cheap, and everybody comes and buys. And he cleverly answered, you know how much time, money, and energy we put in, it should look like a warehouse. And this is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
People think they come into a Costco, every location they actually open up looks like that before they opened up. It's just an empty warehouse. They make it that perception and they put that brand narrative because this is their positioning.
Yeah.
Once you have that positioning, you have a very clear understanding. It's almost like a blueprint for your house. You know what you need to do. So people sometimes ask me, but you know, maybe there's a lot of money put into branding before we go further, or this research and stuff like that. I say that at the end of the day, you're going to do it. You're going to just do it in bits and pieces with so many different mistakes in the process versus having that clear blueprint to see where we want to expand, how do we want to expand, and what we want to do on a long term. And then from that's only that brand narrative, which is voice and tone, but then all has to translate in visuals, packaging, insert cards, and brand engagement. There's so much more that goes from there.
Yeah. So what would be, how do you know when you found it is probably the next question. Obviously we can expand on stuff or other bits and pieces later. We kind of covered quite a bit now, but if we were to wrap around this point here, how do you know you've arrived?
So there's two things to it. And this is a very important question you asked, and I want to answer it because some people get very confused in this stage. Is the marketing agency, like ourselves or any other place that you're going to be working, or yourself, you could do it if you do put the right input, could arrive to a destination. Now, you have to have your gut feeling telling me, could I live up to that destination? Which means is, going back to one of the examples I used before, let's say we had a very techie computer part type of brand. We actually found that the positioning needs to be for those geek community, because that's where they love assembling computers versus an average person wants to buy a ready computer.
Yeah,
the
I mean,
brand owner said,
it's the difference of speaking to GitHub and
yeah,
the PC world, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the brand owner said, I can't live up to this language. I can't live up to this voice and tone. It's not me. I'm not a geek person by nature. He ended up saying, but I don't have another positioning that will fit my product. And he ended up hiring someone to come in to be the voice and continue the voice and do the stuff. So at the end of the day, when you arrive to a destination, your gut feeling has to tell you, I'm happy with this. I'm going to live by this. I'm going to continue to do it. That's how you see every successful brand, online, offline, that you see in the market. Somebody is carrying that narrative. Speak about Nike, Apple, any of those brands. Regardless who the person is, there's the brand guidelines, there's the brand narrative, and whoever is working it needs to match that up and continue working on that. Yeah. So how do I arrive to destination that you feel comfortable enough that I could do this, I could live up by this, and I could continue it? And then there's always something which is called industry reassessment or competitive landscape update, that, you know what, I got to do some changes to my brand. And you can't just build it once and never change. That's when some brands have to change every few years. Some brands will change every decade as the market is changing, or the language in the market is changing, and now they have to speak different voice and tone. But up until there, and if you monitor it, you just stick by it and just make sure that the market is accepting you the way you want. It should accept you.
Sounds good. So we've covered brand audit, discovery, positioning, brand narrative. So give me 2 or 3 key takeaways before we sign out.
Yeah. So the key takeaway for a person is understanding that even if you listening to this episode, you believe or don't believe in what we're saying, you actually also make decisions based on this. If you go into the supermarket and you actually reach out for a ketchup, one of the brands of ketchup, you're probably reaching out to one because that positioning somehow talks to you. Maybe you think it's fresher, maybe you think it's cheaper, maybe you think it's better quality. Chances are all are made in the same facility. That means that that brand positioning has been built on you for the last decade or years or whatever it is. So don't underestimate it, because we make decisions every day as shoppers and consumers on that positioning. The second thing is, don't underestimate the value it could give you for peace of mind, because this is going to give you your roadmap, what you do, what you don't do. And as Amazon sellers, we're sometimes so confused, what is our next move? If you have that foundation for yourself built out, you know, now I have my roadmap. So when we speak to people that come into us, maybe it's the first product, maybe it's the second product, I always ask them, you should right now map out what's potentially your 8th product, the 9th product, the 10th product. Why? Because now we could, as a group, we could figure out, will this positioning work for you? Because this is where you go. If you tell me I don't have more than 2 products, then you have time to figure out your positioning, because you don't have yet enough we should be able to do it. The third is that once you have that positioning, get in the habit of really using it. It's not a PDF that's sitting on your dock. It's not something that's fancy schmancy that maybe, like you mentioned before, fluffy on your wall. Use it. You have so much opportunities, and go through your touch points with your clients, and you'll find the touch points of my clients are online listing, on my EBC, on my storefront, on my packaging, my insert cards, my review requests. How do you actually say, what's the voice and tone you're using there? And I bet you all of your listeners could actually go in and see, am I using it, or is it a disconnect because I bought a template for the reviews, but I'm not reinforcing what my brand is all about. And guess what? One last point is your customer service reps. If you have a positioning that you're here to make the world a better place, your community a better place, your customer a better place, whatever it is, let them sign off the email with that. Let them talk. You know, we're all about organization. So thank you for buying our product, and we're happy we're able to solve this problem for you. Okay? Now that person is seeing these guys are really serious about helping me be organized, or now being a better chef, whatever it is. You already have it. Just train everybody in your organization that actually gets in touch with your clients on both sides of the aisle, internally and externally, that they actually use the same language, because you shouldn't underestimate how much it does for the bigger picture for your brand. Makes sense. Cool. What is the best way that people can reach you? Okay, so me personally, I'm very active on LinkedIn. So it's Meny with an E. It's MENYHOFFMAN. I share a lot of content on a regular basis. If people want to discuss this, what we just discussed, as a one-on-one understanding of where they want to go with the brand, the best way is to go to our agency website, which is ptexgroup.com, ptexgroup.com/pb for product branding. And they could actually select either download a guide, a little bit more expanding on what we discussed, or even actually schedule a one-on-one to discuss this further. Sounds good. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Meny, thank you for joining us. If this is your first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you again in the next few days. Take care.